it happened. Finally, I showed you the list, like months ago, and you were like, fuck all of these records. And then I sent you another list, and then this was on it, and you were like, that one. And I was like, I might have fucking Tony Hawk. And you're like, well, then fuck him.
Yeah. I said, get him out of here.
Get him out of here. But
He's
then I was like, what about the other ones? And you were like, fuck that, dude. It was like, this is the one.
I don't know anything about music. I know what I love. And of all the albums on the 500, this was the one that I thought I could talk about and not sound like I was like an idiot. Like, this is the one album that I was obsessed with the way that you should be obsessed with all 500 albums.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite album of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time. Yeah.
Wow. It's a bold statement.
Album, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not that big a music guy, but this one just hit me in the chest and left a bruise for years.
Why? Take me through your journey then.
I moved to Los Angeles in 2001. I was working at Borders Books and Music, and discovered the Strokes. That album, Is This It? And I was like, oh my God, I love this kind of music. I want more of it. And shortly after that, I think fell in love with the girl. Just turned the world upside down. And that introduced me to the White Stripes, where I bought White Blood Cells. And then I went back and bought Distilled, I believe you pronounce it. And then the White Stripes. The first
I think that's
album.
how you say it, dude.
That's how I say it.
Oh, you mean Distill J?
I've never been corrected. I don't care to be. That's Distilled to me.
But all I know,
loved all of it.
Dude, all I know is that they can name it whatever the fuck they want because of Little Birds being on that. I'm like, that's the fucking shit right there. That made me a fan.
They all kind of blend together. Those first three albums kind of blend together for me, but White Blood Cells was huge. I listened to that over and over again. And as I was getting into stand-up, so I kind of liked the White Stripes dynamic and their aesthetic and everything about them. Like, we're just going to have one drummer and one guitarist, and we're going to make it work. We're going to wear red and black, and we're going to make that work. And I just thought that was so cool to be minimalist. And so when Elephant came out, I was ready for it. I had heard Seven Nation Army and flipped over that. I mean, that's been my walkout music 90% of the time, I would say. Nice. When I do a TV show, I walk out to that song because it's just like, I describe that song as, how some songs make you want to run through a brick wall?
Yeah.
Seven Nation Army makes you want to walk through a brick wall. You know what I mean? You don't have to run. You just kind of strut and you just go through that wall. Like, it's amazing to me that song is played at soccer arenas by the fans. They sing the bass line. It's amazing. Yeah. So I went to, and this was back in the day when you could do this. This was 2003, I believe it came out.
Yeah.
I lived nearby Virgin Records, which was at Crescent Heights and Sunset. And on Tuesday nights when records were released, or on Monday night at midnight when records were released, they would stay up until 12:30. So I drove over there, bought Elephant, just knowing that one song, got back in my shitty car that had no gas, and I was poor as hell, put it in my Discman, put the tape into my thing, and I drove around for 4 hours listening to the album over and over again. Just like every new song, I just couldn't believe it. It was an album just for me, that I wasted all my gas that night. And then I just played that album. My friends would steal it from me and I have to buy another copy of it. But I just played it over and over, and everything was just perfect. I saw him a bunch of times on that tour, and just was obsessed.
So what that is, you brought me back to so many memories by saying waiting for the album to come out. It's like something that we just don't do anymore. I did that with Wu-Tang Forever. I left my high school graduation party to go get it. And with this record, because it's so weird. You mentioned the Strokes, and I always looked and lumped the White Stripes in with those bands like the Strokes, the Hives, the Vines. They were like this reaction to Limp Bizkit and hair metal and all the music prior to it. And out of all of them, I kind of was like, yeah, the Strokes are great. Is This It? Is a fantastic record. The Hives, the Vines, whatever. But there was something about White Blood Cells that I didn't really get. I didn't really get to vibe with the White Stripes until I heard Ball and a Biscuit off of this, because that just completely blew me away. And that was the first moment where I was like, oh, holy shit. This is a band that isn't just Seven Nation Army and Fell in Love with a Girl. This is a fucking real band that is doing something, yes, it's like an imitation of of, the black blues music, and but they're doing a version of it that is the White Stripes. It's you can hear where they're influenced, but there is something about this band that is so them. It's not like he's trying to sing like a black guy because
No.
because Jack White cannot do that. And it's not like Meg is trying to drum like a black dude because she can barely drum just in general. Like
Yeah.
she is just doing what she knows how to do. And so
But
over the
I love that about them. I love that she was not a professional drummer. People be like, oh, if they had a good drummer, if they had a bass player, like that's not the point.
yeah.
The point, I loved how Jack White would always say, I want to make it hard. I want to play guitars that are hard to play. You know,
Yeah.
I want to just like, I want to have to spend half my time on stage keeping Meg on beat. You
Yeah.
know, I loved watching them perform live and him just having to stare at her and keep her on beat the whole time. I just loved them. I thought they were both like the epitome of cool.
Oh, I
And I
think that's
hated people who were anti Meg White. Hated them.
You
Still
know
do.
what? Well, it's funny because when we did White Blood Cells, Bill Burr was our guest, and he is a drummer, and was like, "Dude," he broke down why Meg is actually good and why she's good for this. And there's tracks on this record where where even in Seven Nation Army, it's like she does this offbeat where it's like, oh, well, even if she just learned how to play the drums a few years ago, the fact that she can do that is something that there's something to be said about that. As far as this record, it's listen, I am not putting this record down at all with what I'm about to say. I think the 14 songs that are on it are great. I think there's a couple that, you probably could have shaved off maybe two or three, but then as I started doing all the research on it and finding out that, when White Blood Cells came out, that was when they got the record labels behind them. That's when, they finally have this corporate team in a sense kind of promoting them. And then when they did this record and they have all the money to basically record a record like the way that everybody else does it in this lavish studio with video games and all the food that you could ask for, when Jack was like, so we can give you this. And Jack's like, no, 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 no. I want to go to this shitty ass studio in London. I want none of the equipment to be more current than 1963. I'm going to play on this guitar that you get. I think my writer Morty said it was a Montgomery Ward guitar that was like made in I want to say the late 60s. Yeah. 50s or 60s. But he's basically playing on this primitive, like machinery. And he's like, and we are going to do this in 2 weeks. And what we get is what we get. Because he looked at making albums where it's like when these people go in there for like 6, 7, 8 months and they come out with what they think is a masterpiece. He's like, that's not how you do it, man. You come in with an idea, you fucking bang it out, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, it's the opposite of the Chinese democracy approach.
Yes,
where you're going to spend 20 years and it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah,
I loved when Jack White produced Loretta Lynn's album. She was like, "Can't we do another take? I can do better." And he's like, "No, no, no, this is great." And the album was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
He knew that you just write the song, make it great, and then just bang it out. And you can feel that when you're listening to it. And I love that about that.
Yeah.
The
100%. 100%. All right, let's dive into the record. Because it opens with the song we've already mentioned, probably the most iconic bass line in the last 10 years. Peter, play it. Oh my God, I kill it. I fucking love that song so much. And that's what's so funny about music, because unlike you, where you heard that and were like, I love this, I want to hear the rest of the record. Because I hadn't really fully grasped how dope Jack White was at the time. I was just like, God, this song again. And then they're playing it on HFS or on K Rock or whatever the station is. And it wasn't until years later, until you go to go to a sporting event and everybody starts singing it. I mean, there's something about it that just this energy with this song, and it's so fucking simple.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I love that they kept themselves in a box creatively.
Yeah.
Like, we're only going to have these instruments, and they kind of experiment a little more on this one. He plays an organ at one point. I think they have a bass player at some point. I don't understand that. As someone who doesn't understand music that well, I just knew drums and guitar, and this guy wails on guitar.
Yeah,
He's a guitar
sure.
god.
For sure.
And I just loved, and especially when you see him live. it sounds even better than on the record. And he is just putting on a show with that guitar. It's just the
Yeah.
way he moves is incredible.
Oh
I
yeah,
love it.
dude. I love that you mentioned how they look at each other when they play, and he's got mics set up all around the stage so he can do one in front of Meg. He can go out and look at the audience. It's badass.
Mm-hmm.
So the riff for this was first played at a sound check before a gig in Melbourne, Australia. Although it sounds like a bass, it's Jack on his semi-hollow guitar through an effects pedal that drops the output to a lower octave. I wonder if he even had any idea how special this song was. Because I know it's like, I mean, obviously he probably did because he's like, no, I want to open the record with it. But I'm just curious if he had any idea like how iconic this would be. Because I mean, and let me get your opinion. I think this is probably one of the most iconic songs written in the last 10 years. It's definitely in the top 10, possibly in the top 5. Your thoughts?
I absolutely agree. Definitely top 10, if not top 5. I mean, there's an argument for number one. I remember reading an article about Jack White kind of figuring out what a hit this was going to be. And one of his friends saying, like, how many songs can people just, like, as an audience, like a crowd, just sing along to the bass line? Like, it's not, it's not done.
Yeah.
You know, you can do like na 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 hey in a stadium, but that's fucking Gary Glitter bullshit. To do this song and have it be awesome is he just hit the sweet spot.
Yeah.
The sweet spot of simplicity, you know.
And he's not a pedophile. And he's not a pedophile like Gary Glitter.
Yeah, you know, I forgive Gary. I forgive Gary for that. He put out some great songs. He deserves to be happy.
Wait, does he have more songs besides Rock and Roll Part, whatever the fuck that song is called?
He's got Hey, and he's got like one other one, but he's been in jail for quite some time. Ever since they dragged him out of Thailand.
They had to drag him. This is a funny story. I found out about this. So this title comes from how Jack misunderstood the Salvation Army organization's name as a kid. So he took his interpretation and built a song about a character who comes back to his town and has to deal with the same sort of gossipy people that Jack and Meg were experiencing with dating after fame. Something I thought to be really funny was the record company did not want them to release this as the first single. Jack had to fight them. I'm assuming the song that he probably was going to release, they wanted to release, would probably be Hardest Button to Button. But
Black Math, maybe Hardest Button to Button, Black Math. I think Ball and a Biscuit's a little bit too long, but yeah, I'd say one of those. Yeah. One of those three.
But also, Jack has said that the main riff was what he'd use if he'd gotten asked to write a song for a James Bond film. But he actually did get to do it in 2008 with Alicia Keys. Not gonna lie, love this album, love this song. Do not like their James Bond song.
You compare it to other James Bond songs, I like it more than others, but it's not going to be. If I put on my Jack White mix and that came on, I'm skipping it. But I didn't hate it.
No,
I didn't hate it.
It's no View to a Kill, bro. It's no View.
Listen,
to a
no
Kill.
one's saying that. No one's saying that. Let's not get crazy.
All right. Black Math. All right.
But, to go back to him saying going back to his home, like going back to town and being famous all of a sudden, this was their last Detroit album. After this blew up, after Elephant blew up, they left Detroit. They had to get the hell out of there and go to Nashville because they said the community turned on them. They were too famous. And that's when he's beating up the Von Bondies. You know, that's when he's getting into fights. Yeah. And Meg's kind of withdrawing into herself. That was the end of their Detroit time.
You're from Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get a lot of hometown love, like the way, or do you experience the same shit that Jack experienced with Detroit?
It's different than what Jack experienced because Jack came up through there and was like, I didn't build myself in Pittsburgh. I left Pittsburgh, went to New Orleans, then LA, and built myself there. So when I go back to Pittsburgh, they don't know I'm from Pittsburgh.
Really?
They think that I have to remind them that I'm like Upper St. Clair class of 97. Then they're like, oh, wow, cool. Because they think I'm from LA. So I have fans in Pittsburgh, but it's not like this big homecoming. Yeah. I draw better in Denver than I do in Pittsburgh because they just don't think of me as a Pittsburgh guy. I'm not Billy Gardell.
Yeah.
Just talking about the Steelers for 60 minutes.
Sure.
Nothing wrong with that. Sure. But I love Pittsburgh. My family's still there, but no, not a big Pittsburgh guy.
You don't have a 5-minute bit on Jerome Bettis?
No, I kept trying to get in the wall of Permane Brothers, and they kept refusing. And I was like, okay, once you guys put me on that wall, then I'll know I'm a real Pittsburgher.
Yeah, dude. All right. Black Math. All right, so what I'm about to play might be my favorite moment on the entire record. Peter, play it. There it is. All right, kill it. So what I love about it is this song goes from this like transition from this hard fast like I don't even call it punk or whatever it is to this slow and just intense, like it's phenomenal, almost the cadence of hip hop, and it's just something you wouldn't expect on this record to suddenly come up like that.
Yeah, I mean, hearing you play it right now reminds me, like, it brings me back to driving around in my car, listening for the first time, trying not to pump the brakes along to the song.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, when that comes on, it's just surprising. And I love songs that surprise you, especially when it's just this like, din-din-din-din-din, and then it just switches up, and
Yeah.
it's still just as badass.
Ugh.
Like, it's an amazing part of an amazing song.
It's almost, it makes it even more badass. It
Hmm.
takes it to another level of badassery. All right, so this is about finding your own way. Jack explained, I was thinking about a time in high school when I turned my books into the math teacher and said, I refuse to learn from you anymore. The song is about asking questions. A lot of people are taught just to regurgitate information. People don't care if you learn anymore. Opinion gets trampled on. How do you think about that? What he said?
I think it sounds very anti-school, which is something that I would have felt, when I was 18. By the time I listened to this album, I was out of college and never thought about school again.
Yeah.
But I had similar feelings to school of why did you kind of treat me like this? But since then, I've kind of softened towards school. My high school that I was miserable in and kind of made me become a comic has since brought me back and given me an award. Which kind of takes the anger out of you
Yeah.
for school. And now I'm 42 years old. I don't want to be mad about high school anymore. So I
Yeah.
get what he's saying. And I think he could also get into that character of an alienated 18-year-old kid well into his 30s and even now
Yeah.
that I empathized with it. I
Yeah.
understood kind of what he was saying and just that. And I love the way that he didn't really complain. He just got really angry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That I loved that part of it. There was like a swagger to him getting out of school. It wasn't like everyone's mean to me. I don't understand these classes. I'm leaving. It was like, fuck this. I don't need this.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Can you imagine like what he was like in high school? Just like, dude, you can see that like 6'4" pale kid with weird hair.
Yeah, who's got like 20 brothers? Yeah, the
Does he
guy
have 20?
oh,
He has-
he's I think he is the seventh son of a. I think he's like the youngest of seven.
yes. Yeah, you're right. I was talking
Uh,
about.
and
So
yeah, so I was wondering, and he was just in his room. Like it seems like making his own music back then. I don't know if he ever went to class.
no, probably not. When did you first make your break from the establishment?
I mean, pretty early on. I remember having to go to CCD. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, that was like the Christian thing, right?
It's like if you were Catholic and didn't go to Catholic school, I went to public school, so I had to
Yeah.
go to CCD like every Tuesday from like first grade on. And in like third grade, I realized this was all bullshit, and
Nice.
I was like, oh, they're just making us sit here. This is almost like babysitting. I really feel like school for a lot of people was babysitting, and then I just said I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to read my own books, and pretty much from there on out, I was a teacher's worst nightmare because I'd be in honors classes but still be the class clown,
Yeah.
and they just did not like me. And everything I used, like when I got that award from my high school, I said I've got famous and rich based on doing everything you told me not to do. Like if I'd listened to any of you ever or ever listened to my parents once, I would not be standing where I am right now.
Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. You're like, fuck you, CCD teacher. It's like, I'm reading the fucking Communist Manifesto. What were you? What's a third grader? Like 12? No.
No, that's like eight
Eight?
or nine.
8 or 9? Dude, what a
Yeah.
badass 8 or 9. That's not, you know what? I can kind of empathize with what you went through, because when I was in Hebrew school, I told my Hebrew school teacher she dressed like a prostitute.
Wow, I did not do that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was just like, I don't believe this Jonah and the whale bullshit.
yeah,
And if I
dude.
don't believe that, then this all falls apart.
Yeah. All right. There's no home for you here, Peter. Play taste. Kill it. So for such a minimalist band, this is very Queenie.
Yes,
Do you know
yes.
what I
It's like
mean?
it's a badass breakup song. It's like a breakup song of not like I've got to leave you. It's like there's no room for you here. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget this song because when I was really into white blood cells, I was dating a girl and my girlfriend from college, and we went to a record store and I bought this. I bought it for her. I bought her White Blood Cells, and I was like, "You'll love this. I love this," and we would listen to it together all the time. And then we broke up right before Elephant came out, but I still loved her. We still talked. We were friends. So before I even heard the album, I sent her a copy. I like went through some like CD thing and I sent it to her place in college, not knowing that almost every song is like "fuck you, ex girlfriend."
Yeah.
And so I get a phone call. I listened to the album and I'm like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't take this literally. And then she's like, there's no home for you here? Like, is that what you've been trying to tell me? Like, and I was like, I was sending you a present. This is a peace offering. And she never forgave me.
And also, you're addicted to pain pills. They talk about that at the end of the album. That's great, dude. That is hilarious. I did that too. Like, I made a mixtape for a girl back. Oh God, I was probably 12 or 11 or 12, and I opened the mixtape with "One in a Million" by Guns N' Roses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that song at
Yes.
all? So do you
A
remember
little
it says like racial slurs throughout it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't have been my choice for a mixtape
yeah,
to woo someone.
it's probably a awful idea. She was a Holocaust denier, so
Okay.
I think she kind of got it. All right. So the next song, where are we? All right, next song. I just don't know what to do with myself. So this second single is a Burt Bacharach and Hal David cover that was Meg's idea to add to their live set. It does have a part that makes me laugh in it. Peter, play 120. Kill it. Just that like it's just I don't know
Yep.
why, but that's humorous to me.
But I loved it because I knew of Burt Bacharach a little bit, but I didn't know that much. And
Yeah.
Burt Bacharach, and I'm mispronouncing everything, but the way they covered it made it so cool that song has been stuck in my head almost ever since. Like I find myself singing it all the time, and I sing their version.
Yeah.
It just took a song that you would have thought was corny and made it just cool as hell through sheer force of will.
Yeah. No, for sure. Actually, Jeremiah, I don't know if you can pull it up, but can you pull up either because this was first recorded and released in 64 by Dusty Springfield, and then 2 years later in 66 by Dionne Warwick. I would love to hear. Can you pull it up? We can pull it. We can play it again later if you get it. Okay. So this song, the music video is directed by Sophia. Oh, here we go. That's got to be the commercial with the YouTube clip. That has to be. Okay, here it is. Wow. Kill it.
I'm not into it.
No, it's not even the same song. I mean, you can hear it, but it's not even like it's just that's why I think this version is so dope is to be able to like I mean, he completely put his spin on this, and that's
Oh
really
yeah.
fucking impressive.
And it's almost like the way he did Jolene. It's like a guy singing Jolene is so much different
Yeah.
than a woman singing Jolene. That is, hearing Dionne Warwick sing that, a woman saying these same things sounds much different coming from a guy screaming them.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes it so much heavier.
Oh,
And
for
the
sure.
emotion is there. And he's talking about these banal things like going to see movies and stuff, but with this pure raw emotion coming out of him that I totally reacted to.
Completely. All right, moving on. In the cold, cold night. Peter, play a taste. In the cold, cold night. All right, kill it. So we got Meg singing, which is probably why it has no drums on it, besides a few scattered cymbal hits. Because women. They can't do two things at once. I'm kidding, everybody. What I love about this song is it's very sweet hearing her voice, especially after what we've already been through on the record. And there's actually one part that really gets me. It's when her voice cracks a little. Peter, it's 248. Well, I don't think you had it.
I'll tell you what I love about this song is that it seems like it's almost like an intermission. You know, it's like, and always thought of the White Stripes. People think of it as just Jack White. I really thought of it as Jack and Meg in a partnership. Even if one's doing more of the work, it's 50-50.
Sure.
So it's nice to hear her sing. Like you don't mind it in the like this album's rocking out, and then you get this, and it's okay. It's like 2 minutes long, maybe. What I really love is seeing them live several times on this tour. Is how much she hates singing that fucking song. He has to make her. He has to
Yeah.
like convince her over. He'd be like, "You want to do this?" She's like, "No, no, no, no." And like they play another song. How about no, 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 no? And then finally she gets up. The crowd goes crazy, and she sings it, and everyone loves it. But she is miserable doing
Yeah.
it, even though she knocks it out of the park.
Well,
But
she was
I always loved it.
she wasn't even a drummer. I mean, they were
No,
dating and he was like, "Hey, my other band broke up. Why don't you play drums and let's stick around?" So she never had these aspirations to be a rock star, let alone be as big as they became because I mean, by the time that you saw them for this record, I'm assuming they're playing far bigger than the Viper Room. They're probably playing
oh,
like
I saw him
the
at the Greek and
yeah.
Hard Rock in Vegas. And she never. Not only did she not like want to be a rock star, she never wanted to get better at drumming. Like Jack said, the first time they played, he said she just played like a child would play. If the child just picked up the drums for the first time, and he loved that about her,
Yeah.
and never wanted her to lose it. That I
Yeah.
love that she wasn't like trying to do technical shit. She was just like, "All right, get me through this song,"
Yeah.
and that's part of the band. I
Yeah.
never understood people hating on her for it. I loved her for it.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about voices. How long did it take you to find your comedic voice?
Comedic voice, I'd say about a year and a half.
Really?
Yeah, because I took a class and I started out. They're like, just talk about your life, talk about yourself. But I'm 23 years old. I got nothing to say to anybody, and
Yeah.
I hated it. And listening to the Hives album, I would listen to all the time on my way to open mics, and then this album I would listen to a lot. That it was just like, let's be more simple. And then I started telling jokes. And then I think some of the Jack White got in me. I started telling like a meaner joke. And once I had a mean one liner with like a mean twist, the audience at the open mic, they all just went, oh. And I
Yeah.
knew I had this like minimalist, badass, cool thing. And I thought I wanted to be cool. Like Jack White is still cool, even though he's covered in sweat dancing all around the stage. I thought if I can just stand there and just hold the mic stand and I'm just very still, you don't know anything about me. I love that Jack White would say his Meg was his sister. He'd make up all these lies about himself. I thought that is cool. And I kind of like funneled that into my voice. And once I found that I'm going to be mean and cool, I thought this is my voice and I can do it forever. It's not a lot of effort. I'm not yelling. I barely break a sweat on stage. I remember someone was like, I didn't know you could bend your knees until I saw you sit down after the show the way you are on stage. And that's my voice. And I loved it.
I love that. Dude, your feet work? I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Yeah. You
That
can
is
do that.
great, dude. All right. I want to be the boy to warm your mother's heart. All right. So we know that Jack has this longing for the era of gentlemen and ladies and courtship. So it makes sense he'd write something about wanting to gain the respect and acceptance of his girlfriend's mom. He's what I love about Jack is that he is super old timey. Do you know what I mean? There's something about
Mhm.
him, at least, maybe not so much like his style during this record, but every time you've seen him, it's like he dresses like he's in the movie Cold Mountain, which he was. So to
Mhm.
me, it seems like he probably like raided the wardrobe and just kept it. But there is this kind of old timey innocence
Oh,
about
he's
him.
written multiple songs about Rita Hayworth.
Yeah.
Like that kind of old timey, like not like I want to go back there. Not like things were better then. Just I really like that old school, classic Hollywood kind of thing.
Yeah.
And old school music
For
kind of
sure.
thing.
So, and also this has the best part of this song is the riff. Peter play 151, bruh. Bruh. Kill it. Just even the choice of using that slide guitar right there, it just has a very just an older feel. I hate saying old timey. I don't even know if that's an actual word or descriptive word, but that's what it feels like to me. Thoughts on this?
It definitely old timey, almost like a Saki Bottom Boys kind of thing, you
Exactly.
know. But also, I like that the character he's playing is not like a good person. Like, there's a reason the mom does not like him. You know, it's I kind of see them like in a coal mining town,
Yes.
and it's like the only daughter, and she wants nothing to do with him. And he's not even trying. There's something sinister about not trying to win over the girl. He's
Yeah.
trying to win over the girl's mom. It's like it's almost for the sake of performance or like what he thinks he has to do being in this town that I thought, even though it's a very sweet love song about wanting the girl's mom to love you,
Yeah.
there's something fucked up about that, you know? If you change out mom for sister and it's even worse, you know what I mean? It's like he's not talking about her heart. He feels
Yeah.
like he already has it and just thinks if I can just get your mom, then I can have you. And that
Yeah.
just seems like a misplaced, not like a Elvis Costello, I hate women kind of thing, but just like I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best because I have a big heart
Yeah, he's like, "What kind
and
of
I'm damaged.
cartwheels do I have to pull? What kind of joke should I lay on her now? Should I go back
And he
to high
sounds mad
school?"
when he says it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm trying everything. What does she need? What
Have
trick does she need to get her?
have you ever had to do it? Have you ever done something to like, woo the parents of someone you were dating?
Not enough, apparently. I mean, like I felt like in high school, all the parents always loved me. Like my girl, if I dated someone, the parents loved me. And then after high school, it changed, where they were like, "Keep away from this guy. Like, are you sure this is the guy you want? He makes you happy, okay." And then we break up. They'd be like, "See, we
Y
told you." The
yeah,
parents took a turn from me
yeah.
after high school. They're like,
They're
"Oh,
like
you're still gonna act like this in your
yeah,
20s?
yeah.
Okay,
They're like,
okay,
"Dude, why would you wanna date him? He doesn't bend his knees."
yeah,
You're like,
yeah."
that's what you're like. You're like,
The,
"Nah,
the
dude, check
the
this
guy who
shit out."
wants to be a comedian, yeah, date that guy.
Yeah. Alright, where are we? You've got her in your pocket. Peter, play a little taste. What happened? There it is. There it is. Alright. So featuring only Jack, this tender acoustic ballad was written right after they debut with the intention of giving it to a local band to cover, but Jack thought it was too personal and saved it. Thoughts on this?
I think it's a very sweet, sinister ballad. You know, he's talking about a girl that he like met, didn't even really like, and then kind of took her and has her in his pocket, which is not a romantic thing to say.
No, it's
Like
not.
if saying you've got me in your pocket, you've got me wrapped around your finger, that's romantic. Saying I've got you in my pocket or you've got her in your pocket is not romantic. It's just almost like you took her and no one else can have her now. You
Yeah.
know, not so much because she's special, but because she affected you in some way and you didn't want anyone else to have her. So you took her and to sing it like, and if this wasn't a ballad, if this wasn't just him on guitar, if he was like on electric raging, it would sound like an angry song, but it sounds so sweet when it's anything but. And I
Yeah.
love shit like that.
Dude, that was perfect. No, I completely agree with you. Any other way, this song is just people are like, what the fuck? So that's fantastic. I wanted to ask you because, you know, I know your work on the Comedy Central roast, but you also worked for Jimmy Fallon for what,
Hmm.
a year, and then you quit.
A year. Yeah.
And it's just, I'm not saying that you can't write for him, but like knowing your style after knowing you for a few years and having watching you and enjoyed you, how did you tailor your material for other people?
I didn't, and I don't. You know, I've written for several people. I've written for Robert Smigel, Jimmy Kimmel, Sarah Silverman on like little things. And if I like the joke, they like the joke too. I just wrote my own stuff. Like the difference between a comedy writer and a comedian who's writing is a comedy writer tailors their voice for whoever they're working with. They can write for Jimmy Fallon, they can write for Seth MacFarlane, anybody. A comedian comes in and you hire them for their voice.
Yeah.
And that's what I'd always been doing. So when I got to Jimmy Fallon, they were trying to find the voice of the show. And I'm still doing my thing. And they're like, Jimmy can't say these jokes. We all think they're funny, but Jimmy has to be likable. These are too mean. And I just didn't know how to change that. So I tried to write other stuff, but it wasn't good. It wasn't me. You know,
Yeah.
and I just kept saying, my complaint at Fallon was, why am I here? I know you all like me, but like, why did you hire me? And I think in the beginning of the show, they thought we might need this. We might need this voice. And the show was a hit out of the gate.
Yeah.
So they kind of just they kept me around and liked me, but I did not get much on the show.
Do
No.
you remember anything that you wrote that he never said? Like one of your favorites?
Yes, I had one, and I actually opened with this joke when I had the Jeselnik offensive because I was like, I pushed for this joke for like months, and Jimmy would laugh, and then someone would talk him out of it right before showtime for weeks,
Yeah.
and it was a new study says that the birth control pill may not be effective in obese women. Doctors are telling those women, don't worry about it. And they would laugh, and then they go, Jimmy, it's just going to make heavy women hate you. And
Yeah.
he would never do it. And I was like, but if it's funny, and they just didn't, like, funny wasn't the point. It's nice, but being likable is the point. It's better to bomb with a corny joke
Yeah.
and then make them laugh with your response than it is to make them laugh at a joke about like a disabled person. And after they stop laughing, they don't like you.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, I'm going to make you not like me and still laugh. And so it did not work well.
Dude,
No.
that's a great fucking joke, dude. I'm glad you got
Thank
to
you.
do it. All right, we're at. Probably. This is probably my favorite song off the record. "Ball and a Biscuit." It's such a banger. It's the longest song on the record at over 7 minutes. It's basically, and that's what's so cool about this, it's basically just a 12-bar blues, heavily influenced by Willie Dixon's 1955 song, "The Seventh Son." Now, although there are sexual innuendos in the lyrics, the title actually refers to the nickname of the vintage STC 4021 microphone that was at Toe Rag Studios where Elephant was recorded.
No, I had no idea. I thought for sure it was something sexual.
So did I. Or it's like something like old black people would say, "Oh, that's a ball and a biscuit." You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was I'm a backdoor man. You know what I mean? Thinking like, oh, I'm just singing that, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's talking about anal. You know, like I thought it was one of those that like it's an old timey slang, and it just sounds dirty.
It does sound dirty. Everything about this song is perfect. But
rips.
Just rips. But my favorite shit is right before he drops into his solo, he always says something. So this is my favorite one. Peter, play 346, bro.
Now listen.
It's just so fucking good. Kill it. Because I could listen to the whole thing.
When he plays this live, it's the most incredible fucking thing ever.
Yeah,
it's incredible. I do not play guitar. I could not kick guitar down the stairs. I have spent hours of my life air guitaring by myself to this song as if I was playing it. It's impossible not to. It's
impossible not to. Also, that was the coolest shit about the fact that that on the Burr episode of Saturday Night Live, like he played this when he did the two songs, he did Lazaretto and he did this. And it was phenomenal. The coolest shit about this song, besides the fact that it just keeps building and building and building, where each solo gets crazier and noisier, is that this song, it's not just a great rock song. So I used to DJ at a strip club. I did it for 6 years as I was building my career in stand-up.
Oh, I was a doorman at a strip club.
Which one?
Rick's Cabaret on Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Actually, holy shit, dude. When I went down there, when I was working on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, we went down to Bourbon Street to clear it so the girls could go into each, we went to different bars and I had him sign off. And then we went to Rick's and I was like, hey, we're going to be shooting here later. And they were like, oh, well, you should come back even if you guys don't shoot. And I went and I hooked up with a stripper that night.
Ah.
Yeah. Didn't have to pay. But I got violently ill. I got violently ill the next day. Don't know if it's from the stripper. Have no idea.
It's possible. When I was a doorman there, I got to know the strippers, and it made me never want to go in a strip club again. Because you get to know like what the fantasy is gone. That like fantasy of they like doing this and they think I'm cute. Like they were just like, let's get these fucking idiots money and get the fuck out of here. They hated everybody. And then I went back to Rick's after, because I went to college before Katrina. And then I came back after Katrina and stopped by Rick's to say hello, and everyone was gone. They were like, no one you know from before is still here, and this place is now the worst strip club in the city
Yeah.
instead of the best. It's
So
not a good place to be.
you know what's funny? All right, so two things. One, I just want to focus it on this song, but I want to pick up what you just said. So I not only did I get white chicks to dance to this song, like I got like black chicks. Like I worked day shift at this one club where you could get away with playing rock and roll, and I would just be like, dude, I was like, I play it for certain girls, and then there was this black chick named Isis. I don't know if you can use that name anymore because it's like 2009, but she was like, "Can you play that one song with the guitar solos?" And I put it on, and that became like her song. So this song transcends, cultures. It's that good.
I would think ISIS though would be a great name for a stripper now because you could just be like, I give the best head.
Ooh. We should get back into the fucking strip club world and start pushing that shit, dude. You know what's funny? And this, you mentioned it, where everybody at your club wasn't there anymore. So something that I do, and I do it once a year, I'd say, because I'm not a strip club guy. I never have been. But what I do is I used to work at one in downtown LA called Dames and Games. It was the last club I worked at. And now, if I ever do a show in like San Diego or in Irvine and I drive up the 10, I drive on the 5 up to the 10, I always stop in there just so I can remind myself why I need to keep working hard, why I can't go back on opiates, why I have to stay focused. Because I know everybody left the club you were working at, dude. There's still like 5 or 6 girls that I remember that are still there. And then there's the DJ, the fucking DJ, this dickhead named JP, who took my shifts, which was actually a blessing because I used to work Friday and Saturday night, and he was in with the manager and he got him to take me off, and that got me to quit, but he's still there. And it's almost like I see him and I'm like, dude, that could be fucking me, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Dames and Games, Rick's Cabaret, well, actually right now, because I don't really, we're not touring. So if you're hiring,
You think the strip clubs are open right now?
no, probably not.
You think that's COVID safe?
No, God, no. They probably do it like Hasidic Jews do, and like put a sheet up, so you're just
Yes.
like touching the sheet.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you because like your onstage persona is so just it's so defined, it's so a certain way, and people see you as, like you said, this cool fucking like just sharp ass dude. What is the most misunderstood thing about you?
I mean, it's hard because like I try not to put too much of myself out there. I think the most understood thing is that people think that I do dark humor. That doesn't mean I want to hear your dark humor. You know what I mean? If someone's like, "Oh, this you got to hear this comedian, they're so dark," I'm not
Yeah.
interested. Give me Nate Bargatze. Give me Todd Glass. Give me someone that I can laugh at. I want absurdity. That just because I do this and I consider myself like a dark comedy god, that I
Yeah.
just don't want to hear from other people because it's like, no, this is what I do. I don't want to have someone, taking an idea from me or hearing someone do something I would want to do later on. So I avoid all of that. People are always like, "Oh, I've got this joke you'd love to hear," and 9 times out of 10, it's some racist joke. I've got to cut them off halfway through. But people just think that I'm like some kind of monster and love that. It's like, no, I like the skill of joke writing. I just happen to go dark because I like that, but I'm not into. People are like, people expect me to have like people don't expect me to be like a left winger, who's
Yeah.
like for trans rights. They expect me to have like anti-trans Dave Chappelle material, and I just don't. I'm like, I'm sorry, I vote like a black woman. I know I seem like a monster on stage. I get that out there, but off stage, you'll find me to be a completely different person.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to I don't know if you know this comedian, Justine Marino, and when I told her
I know the name.
I was recording with you, you guys did a set together at the Comedy Store, and you guys talked for a minute, and she was just like, "He's so nice," and blah blah blah, and I was like, and she's like, and the funny thing was, I didn't think he was going to be because I'd only seen his stand up, and I was like, "Yeah, dude, he's the best." And then she goes, and what's even funnier is on that same night there was another comic. I'm not going to say who it is, but they're like kind of their whole onstage persona is very Christian-y and like wholesome. And when you left, he was in the room and she started talking to him and he was like a fucking dick to her.
Always. That's one of the things, the reasons I'm like, why are you mad at me for being a jerk on stage when everyone who's nice on stage is a dick off stage?
Yeah.
Like, of course I'm going to be nice because I could not be meaner than I am out there.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be nice. But the guys who like if you feel like you can give them a hug after their set,
Yeah.
those are the guys who hate you
Yeah.
and want nothing to do with anybody. So I've never really trusted, the squeaky clean comedians.
No.
It's the people like me and you that I'm like, okay, these guys have some demons. Let's go.
Fuck yeah, dude. All right. Hardest button to button. This song is not about buttons, contrary to popular belief. It's about the feeling of rejection a kid feels from their family, such as when a new baby is born that gets all the attention. And Jack explained it by saying, there's a button at the top of my navy pea coat, and it's the hardest button to button. And I thought that was a great metaphor for the off man out in the family. Best part about this song is the opening verse. Peter, play it. "1981, you gonna find it." I love, love this song. Kill it. I love everything about this song. I love the fucking beat. I love his lyrics. I love his storytelling in it. I love the music video for this, where it's just like
Yes.
that
Maybe my
thing.
favorite music video of theirs. And they've done some bangers. They've had some
Yeah.
great directors, some really cool things. This one is amazing to watch. And I had no idea it was about a new baby coming into the family and feeling left out. I thought when he was talking about a baby, I thought it was more of like talking about like an idea that he had had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I had no idea it was literally a baby.
No,
So
it's
that's
well, like you said, he's
that
he's
clears
like,
things up.
yeah, he's the he's got. Can you check on that for me, Jeremiah? Like how many brothers and sisters he has, just to make sure, because I don't want to keep saying it and be like, no, he's actually an only child. But yeah, but he's got, like, obviously he probably dealt with some form of, if there's 7 people in his family or even 4. I mean, I've got 2 nieces and a nephew, and the middle child, who's like I don't want to. She's not going to hear this. She's my favorite, but like she's got that fucking chip on her shoulder, especially
Yeah.
with the younger one. So I think that's such a cool metaphor to use to describe something that so many people have experienced, and let alone they probably have no idea that's what he's talking about. Here we go.
And I want to say there was an age gap between 9 actual siblings. He's the youngest. I think is there a big age gap between him and the next one?
Yeah, find that out. By the way, that's the raconteurs, not his
Yes.
brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I figured. I recognized a couple.
What were you saying, Anthony?
Just that I think there was a big age gap between him and his older siblings, that he was pretty much on his own. It didn't sound like he got his music from his older brother, like a lot
Yeah.
of people did. It seemed like he was on his own with his friends, grabbing stuff and picking it up and doing it himself.
Do you come from a big family?
Oldest of 5.
Oldest of 5.
5 kids in 7 years. It's me, 3 girls, and then my brother is 7 years younger than me.
So did you experience anything that's going on in this song?
A little bit, in that, I was the only child, and then my sister came along, and that was fine. Then all of a sudden, it was just more girls and more girls, and the family didn't have as much time for me. I mean, they would try to keep the kids doing activities, so I spent a lot of time reading, and I was happy to. I didn't think of it as I'm being left out or I'm not being included. But looking back, yeah, I mean, if I had been an only child, I would have had a lot more one-on-one time with my parents and probably done more activities. But I was always happy being alone anyway. I never felt alienated. And now I'm happy to have, a lot of siblings and a big family.
So would you say is the weirdest thing about you when you were a kid?
I mean, I think just that I was very into reading. I learned to read at a very early age. I went to like Montessori school and they taught me. And I just I read adult books faster than kids would get to. So while kids were reading Encyclopedia Brown, I was reading American Psycho. Shit like so.
Yeah.
People just thought I'm crazy, and it would drive me nuts because I would say I'm just talking about dark subjects. That like you're making these dark jokes about death and stuff, and you're making people uncomfortable. And I would say, well, the greatest minds of all time have been trying to figure out what happens after we die and been obsessed with death. Why am I weird just because I'm a kid?
Yeah.
And it made me just not want to be a kid anymore. I wanted to be older always. Like I'm 42 now and I'm happier than I've ever been I can't wait to be 43.
Fuck
You know,
yeah.
like just every year that I'm older, it's like the way I am has become more acceptable.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was a weirdo and I was like arguing back. I was like, I'm not weird at all. I might be different, but I don't understand why you guys are trying to make me like everybody else. That's not the point.
Your teacher's like, pardon me, Mr. Jeselnik, can you put down less than 0? And you're like, all right, I'm on my third Bret Easton Ellis book.
They would say, Anthony, you make a joke and people laugh, but if you notice after they laugh, they're uncomfortable. I was like, well, what's wrong with that? I'm going to make a career out of that. Like, I don't see the problem here. Why am I in the office?
Oh, that's great. All right, Little Acorns. So this opens with an introductory story about a lady who learned perseverance through her struggles by observing a squirrel, spoken by longtime Detroit news anchor and writer Mort Krim. This is the best part, though. Peter, play it. Oh, 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 oh. Kill it. I love that he's saying be like the squirrel. It's so funny because until I read the notes that Morty wrote me, I was like, no, I have no idea what this song is about. I just, it's probably him just being cool, be like the squirrel. I didn't even put the two things together. Like I was paying attention to the Mort Krim part, but I also love that oh. I don't know what that is about that. Like it's very 80s, like fucking flock of seagulls. Like anytime I sing like some like bullshit new wave song, I'm like, oh, and I just fucking love it. Thoughts?
This is my least favorite song on the album,
Ooh,
possibly my least favorite White Stripes song. Like
really?
it's something. I think the intro. It's like you're rocking, and then all of a sudden this intro comes in that I didn't love, and then "Be Like the Squirrel." It just didn't pump me up the way that it made you want to like put the wall back together you just ran through. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not a bad song. It just seemed like it didn't fit on the album, or should have been a last track. But it just it always bothered me.
Okay, well then, being that this is your least favorite song, what's your favorite song on the record? Ooh, that's the
I
hard
mean,
one.
hard not to say Ball and a Biscuit. I mean, it's been overplayed at this point now, but wait, hold on one second. Sorry, guys.
You're good. I don't think so. So we've got a few more tracks. We're doing good on time. You were at an hour, so we're good. I don't
So
think. No,
I
you're
had the
good.
game paused and it just went off, and so I had to mute it.
Okay, good. You didn't see the score though.
No,
Okay, good.
no.
I want you to be able to enjoy this game fully. Dude, I can't thank you enough, Anthony, for doing this. Even if you forgot that the game was right now, the fact that you're still doing it, knowing how big
Oh,
of a Steelers fan you are, like
we've been talking about this forever. And again, this game, I did not expect this game to be played Wednesday at noon, but when we set it up, but I'm happy we finally get to put this together.
no, I love it. All right. Where was I? All right, let's just jump into Hypnotize because no.
Oh,
You
you know
didn't
what?
finish.
Actually,
Go
I
ahead.
was talking about my Ball and a Biscuit might be my favorite, but Hypnotize is amazing, and Girl, You Have No Faith in Medicine might be my dark horse because it's no one's favorite, but it just fucking rocks.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go into let's do Hypnotize.
All right, so this is the shortest song on here, and who hasn't wished they could hypnotize someone into falling in love with them? Best part is the breakdown. Peter, play it. There it is. All right, kill it. I love when that shit comes back in. You know what's great about this,
So good.
Anthony, is that for such a rocker of a song, the lyrics are very vulnerable and very confident too. I mean, he says, "I want to hold your little hand if I could be so bold and be your right hand man till your hand gets old." I mean, that's beautiful.
Old or cold?
Fuck, let me check because I copied and pasted and it said old. Where are we? We're
How
on
would believe either one.
Hypnotize. Hold on. Get out of my way. Add Hypnotize. Uh, I want to hold. Okay, let's take it again. I want to hold your little hand if I can be so bold and be your right hand man till your hand gets old. Wow, you went with
Okay.
cold. You went with
Yeah,
dead.
I thought it was like until you're dead. I mean, very similar. The great thing about the White Stripes is you can misread the lyrics, you can mishear them,
Yeah,
and the song still rocks. Like the song still kind of makes sense. Where I've heard found out the actual lyrics, I've been a little disappointed. Like I like
yeah,
my version better,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, again, this is another one that sounds sinister in that he's saying he wants to hypnotize her, he wants to make her his. But the song, if this was a ballad, it wouldn't sound so bad. It would sound sweet. He wants her to be obsessed with him. But the way he does it, it's almost like he doesn't have a choice. It's the only way he can get her
yeah.
is to he wants these things from he wants these like soft romantic things, but he has to hypnotize her to even have a shot at it. And hypnotizing someone, I get the feeling that the narrator in the song doesn't really believe in hypnotism. He just thinks that he doesn't have like a way to hypnotize her. He just wishes that could happen so that he could have this woman.
Oh,
And
for
that's a
sure.
sinister way to approach romance.
What's the craziest thing you've done to win over a lady?
I mean, bro, I don't have to do much. You know what I mean? Like eye contact, a meet and greet
Yeah.
after the show. Yeah, I haven't done insane. I mean, the most insane thing I've ever done is like go on a blind date to meet someone, and I always regret it, no
Yeah.
matter no matter how amazing. Yeah,
But what
yeah.
about prior to you being Anthony Jeselnik?
Prior to me being Anthony Jeselnik, like I always just kind of let him come to me. I never really
Always.
like pined over someone. If I was into a girl and she wasn't into me, I was like, okay, like your loss. If someone ever dumped me, I was like, you don't want to be with me, great. Like I never understood cheating. It was like if you want to cheat, just break up with me. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I haven't had those sort of issues.
Good for you,
Not that
dude.
it's like I'm so amazing, I'm so great. It's just that my mind just shuts off. If someone's like, "Ugh, get away from me," like I don't try again. I'm not like if I say, "Hey, do you want to dance?" and they're like, "No," I'm like, "Okay, enjoy your night,
Do
bye."
you realize how much pain you have saved yourself from having from being able to do that? Like, I wish I could have fucking been able to do that throughout my life, man. That is incredible. Dude, it's good for you, dude.
Thank you,
Good for
thank you. So
fucking
I
you,
don't want to
dude.
waste my time. I don't want to be the kid crying in his bedroom, looking at a picture.
That's me.
Listen to REM. That's
That's
not me.
me. Except no REM listening to Stone Temple Pilots. Just like, I'm half the man I you. All right. The air near my fingers. The guitar has the same cadence in this song as it does for the Trogs 1966 garage rock anthem Wild Thing. Let's take a listen, Peter. All right, kill it. I don't know if you knew this, but the lyrics are influenced by Alfred Hitchcock's 1960s thriller Psycho's lead character Norman Bates, as played by Anthony Perkins, because Anthony Perkins had a difficult time shedding the public perception of Norman Bates. I had no fucking idea, and it makes me love it even more. What are your thoughts on this, bud?
I had no idea. I mean, I always loved the song, but knowing about the Anthony Perkins thing, and not just like I met him as a person and I thought he was a cool guy, because other actors always talked about him in high esteem, and I can imagine he couldn't
Yeah.
shake that role because he played. I mean, there was like Psycho 2. I don't know what else he was ever in, but a great actor. But that just makes it even like a kind of a sadder and more badass of a song.
Yeah. And actually, this is pretty funny too. Jack has said that this is one of his least favorite songs on the album, and he wish he would have left it off the record.
Really? Did you say why?
Uh doesn't say, but if Morty wrote it, it has to be true. Dude, my writer Morty is fucking like he double checks math. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe do you? All right, let's ask this: Does it? Do you think this fits with the rest of the record? I do.
I do if you're listening straight through. Would I just go and put this one on right away? No, but as you're listening through, because of what comes after it, it's nice to have like a little bit of dip before it comes right back up. Because some albums start out strong and they just get weaker and weaker as they go until it's like this ballad at the end.
Yeah.
Where this one comes up and down, that I think this song is almost setting up what comes next.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't know. Maybe like when did he write it? Peter or Jeremiah, can you find out like when the song was written and then find out and just pull it up as we move on? We'll come back to it. If Peter gets it, then we'll come back to find out why.
Because I know there's a couple songs that would like should have been on the last album and then weren't. But I don't know if this was one of those.
Which was the other one we talked about? Because there was another one that we had gone through that was written prior to. Was it not Black Math? Hold on.
No, that was the one that he wrote that was going to give to someone else. And
Yes.
Was that Put It in Your Pocket? Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
The next one we're going to talk about, I think, is it Girl, You Have No Faith in Medicine?
Yes. Your
Yes,
favorite song.
That was supposed to be on the last album. And then Meg had a problem with one of the lyrics.
Yes.
And thought it was like too much. And I don't know what that lyric was that he changed to make it palatable for her on this new album. But when he sings it live, he'll sing Meg, You Have No Faith in Medicine.
Yes. This is so this, like you said, this is Meg's least favorite song on the record. Well, I think it's because probably it's about the placebo effect on the sexes. So Jack put it like this. He goes, I suppose it is just about this tongue-in-cheek take on male and female relationships when things are bothering girls about headache medicine, aspirin, Tylenol, and things like that. It's like men can take anything like a sugar pill and it will make their headache go away. But there's always some sort of special care for women. It is sort of a metaphor for taking the time to care for someone, I guess. So yeah.
When you say it like that, it's brutal that I can see Meg being like, why did you even write this song? That's ridiculous and misogynistic. I saw it almost as like a later Jack White song, you don't know what love is, you just do what you're told kind of thing of like, girl, you have no faith in medicine is almost like you have no faith in me.
Yeah.
You know, you have no faith in love and what I can do for you. I never saw it as literally like you always have a headache, you don't want to have sex, you need Tylenol. Like it just seemed like a rocker to me.
Yeah.
And I would love to know what that one line is that he took out. I couldn't find it. I Googled it and couldn't find it anymore.
Could you also find that too, Peter? If you can find it. I mean, let me see if I can find it on the lyrics I have up. Hold on. And see if they say anything about it. Placebo effect, the sugar pills. Hold on. No. I mean, looking over the lyrics right here, and actually after going through that explanation, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know much about Meg, so I don't know what she stands for or what would piss her off. But I mean, saying it the way that he said it, like I could see it being, you know, taken a certain way. So here, while he finds that, I wanted to ask you this because, you know, talking about people taking things a certain way. So you got to roast Donald Trump, right? Did you ever feel like partially responsible for humanizing him like enough to become president?
Oh, in no way. And I really did think that this was his reason for doing it because he came to Comedy Central and said, I want you to roast me. And I thought maybe he's doing this so that we'll all get the jokes out and then you can't make fun of him going forward. And it didn't feel like that was the case. It felt like he was still kind of a joke afterwards. And then after that roast was the famous White House Correspondents' Dinner, where Obama just destroyed him in a way that I couldn't even believe. And they say that was like what really made him want to run for president, was being so humiliated at that event. So we just treated it as a joke. And I thought he was a great, perfect roast candidate because you couldn't make people feel bad for him. No matter what you said about Donald Trump, and I said horrible things about him, everyone just went crazy because he was such a, I'm the greatest, I'm the richest, that nothing would ever make you feel bad about him.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel responsible at all. I was glad that I got to get it out of the way before half the comedians in the country burned 4 years of their lives yelling at him on Twitter. I could say, listen, I already did this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird, you know, it's weird to have your big break be roasting someone who ends up becoming president.
Yeah, dude. What was your favorite joke that you said to him during that roast?
I mean, the one that gets the most airplay still is Donald Trump. I don't even know if you're aware of this, but the only difference between you and Michael Douglas from the movie Wall Street is that no one's going to be sad when you get cancer. That was like the big one. But my favorite was because he had said, like, don't say I have less money than I say I do. That was his big, like, you can't say that.
Yeah.
And I said, Donald, you have such a great sense of humor. You've been so happy to embarrass yourself on Saturday Night Live and the casino business. And you could tell that hurt him.
Yeah.
You could hear like the men in the audience who were his friends going, oh, because they knew that was a sore spot. Having his casino business fail was a sore spot.
Oh, for
So
sure.
that's my personal favorite.
Did you get to talk to him like after the roast, or was he
No.
just completely secluded from everybody?
Everyone, like I'm sure he talked to other people after the 3 roasts that I did. Every single person stays the hell away from me. It was like the Darth Vader, where they were like, yeah, you did well, but we don't want to talk to you. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want to be anywhere near you. That I never talked to people before or after. When I remember going to Jeff Ross and saying, Jeff, I'm getting fame now. I'm meeting famous people and they're all afraid of me. Like I'm like, oh, you're so cool. And they're like, yeah, get away. You're going to make fun of me. And what should I do? And Jeff goes, don't do anything. You've got mystique. And once I heard that, I was like, oh, fuck, I've got mystique.
Yeah.
And then I was just stuck.
I also have to say probably one of my favorite roasts was a Charlie Sheen roast. And a lot of it had to do not just with your performance, but with Patrice's. Did you talk to Patrice after he called you what do you say? You have the cadence of a medieval times waiter.
I think he said you look like a medieval times waiter.
Yeah.
Go get me a turkey leg, you fucking nothing. And at the time, like I laugh because I'm like, because when someone makes jokes about you, no matter how bad it is, like you laugh, so it's good on TV. I truly did not get it. I've never been to medieval times. I assume he meant like I look like a dorky white guy. Fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool with it. And I was like, I didn't know Patrice that well. And then after the roast, he was mad. Like he was still upset. And we ended up our cars get us back to the hotel. We're staying in the same hotel.
Yeah.
And we walk into the lobby and he's like, Anthony, he's like, we don't know each other, man, but like, what is that? Like, what is that all about? And I'm like, Patrice, you know what roasts are. Like, you're older than me. You've been watching these. You agreed to do it. Like, what do you have a problem with? And he's like, why do they have to be so mean? And I'm like, did you hear what you said? Like, we're arguing, kind of like friendly arguing in the elevator. And then it stops at his floor. I'm the next floor up. And he gets out and he turns around. He's still talking to me. And I'm like, you know what? I can get out of this elevator right now, go hang out with Patrice and listen to him talk about the roast for an hour. Or I can go upstairs and go to bed. And I went upstairs and went to bed.
Yeah.
And I never saw him again.
Yeah.
Like he died shortly after that. That I wish I had gotten out, but I couldn't believe that he was so in disbelief. I'm like, you've made people cry in meetings.
I
Patrice.
know.
Like, why are you upset that someone made fun of your diabetes on stage? Like it just, I didn't understand. And then I talked to Jeff Ross later on about it, being confused. And he said, you don't understand. You don't know Patrice. He's like, that was Patrice getting himself psyched up to go and do this. Like that was his process to go up and kill the room. That I didn't know Patrice, but I didn't have any kind of problem with him.
Yeah.
I can't say that I loved him because I truly did not. I only met him for a couple of minutes, but I thought he was one of the greatest comedians of all time.
100%. Dude, thank you for telling that. That was fucking great. All right. Last song on the record, and quite possibly one of my favorite songs on the album. Well, it's true that we love one another. So this is just a humorous take on a classic country duet featuring British garage rock vocalist Holly Golightly, which has occasionally become a trio when Meg gets dragged in to throw in a few disgusted lines. I love the hook of this so much. Peter, play it. All right, kill it. I just, when you were talking about your favorite songs on the record, and I just can remember, like, out of everything I listened to, the first time I listened to this record all the way through, like, I was expecting every song that came on it, and nothing was like, I mean, stuff blew me away, but nothing just stopped me in my tracks. There was something about this song that it's still to this day, I just fucking love it. It's fun, it's cute, and it's such a great way to end the record after we've just been fucking throttled for 40 minutes, and then you come out with this. It's perfect way to end the record. What are your thoughts?
I agree because it's like it's light, but it is not silly, right? It's not silly. It's still a great song. They play with the brother sister thing again.
Yeah.
I love Jack White like little brother, and what I really love about it is coming from someone who doesn't know music at all, is the way that Holly Golightly sings out of, like, when they're like, it's true that we love one another, and she starts saying, I love Jack White like a little brother before they finish saying
Yes.
another.
Yeah.
Like that, just like that, the rhythm of it and the momentum carries you through, that I would keep listening to them have this conversation through song all day long. And then at the end, the cup of tea then, Bruce,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that, like, little, like, you gave us a peek, because the rest of this album was recorded in 2 weeks, and then this was recorded separately, that it seems almost like a victory lap. That I love that. And I just thought
100%.
this is like the perfect. And I'm sitting there like, who the fuck is Holly Golightly? Like, I got to find out who this is. How did she get in there? I was just obsessed with having a collaboration. They all seem to get along. It's a perfect, maybe the perfect album closer.
Yeah, for sure. All right. You want to do some facts and get out of here?
Please.
All right. The album is called Elephant because it represented Meg and Jack's personalities. Jack explained, we're powerful and majestic, but also subtle and innocent, clumsy yet brilliant, also silent. And the way elephants relate to death is interesting. They get real emotional about it. Elephants bury each other. Other animals would either eat another's remains or just not care, yet elephants care. So, go ahead.
I mean,
No.
I understand that. I wonder if because I assumed it was just like the album is an elephant. It's like this thing's just this, like, stampeding through your mind. I wonder if he came up with that title after they recorded the album, or if he was like, this is what we are. This is what we're going to do next. Here's what the album is.
Well,
Like,
what?
because I always come up with the title after I come up with the title for my special after I'm done with it,
Yeah.
not before.
Yeah.
Because then things will change. You don't want to get locked in. But I love it.
Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you
And
this.
apparently the album cover is supposed to look like an elephant, where they're sitting on a trunk backwards, where they're supposed to be the ears and the trunk is the head. And they're like, no one got it.
Yeah. So here
no
you go.
one got that the album cover is a head.
So the album cover has Meg and Jack sitting on an old amplifier under a single light bulb, her clutching a handkerchief against her tears dramatically, and him holding a cricket bat. And just like you said, Jack claims that their placement in the shape of an elephant, but I personally, I didn't see it.
No, I never.
Pull the album cover up, Jared.
Well, there's multiple versions of it too.
Well, while he pulls up the album cover, we look at that. I want to know, what's your spirit animal?
Bro, a shark.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, there's no other option.
Yeah, I didn't. You're like a platypus. All right, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I still don't see an elephant. I guess you could be like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, kind of like the way her dress and the way their legs are. I mean, what's the trunk then?
The trunk is like the head. I think they're supposed to be the ears, but it makes no sense.
Yeah. No, that doesn't make any sense at all. All right, get out of this screen, Jeremiah. I need fucking my words back. Fuck that album cover. All right, where are we? Elephant was first released on vinyl before CD to help discourage early pirating and to weed out certain critics. According to Jack, According to Jack, because if a journalist or a critic doesn't own a record player, I don't really trust them. They're obviously not looking back. They don't know enough about music history.
I mean, I can understand that, and I think it's like a very Jack White thing to do. I can't imagine he thought that he was going to get bad reviews for this album. Like, especially after White Blood Cells, that he thought, like, I'm going to take a beating on this one. Like, this was universally beloved.
Everybody. This was like the number one record. I mean, Rolling Stone, number one record of the year. I saw it on every like Spin, NME. I mean, because this is like the British people they eat up Jack White. They fucking. I remember I was in England when the Raconteurs dropped their first record, and it was like the way that you'd go to America and see like now like Ariana Grande or like Harry Styles having like a whole wall dedicated to them. And that was also what was so funny is like the difference between the way English people appreciate good music and Americans appreciate good music is that this is like worshipped in England. And here, it got a lot of airplay, but it's not like, do you know what I mean? Like the critics loved it, but not as much as like the general population.
Yeah, but I know so many bands that I'm friends with who are like, we make our money, we make so much more money touring overseas than we do in America. We
Yeah.
sell the albums in America, but they love to come and see us there. That I can see them. Like, do you ever see that live like DVD they put out where they're in like Mexico City and it's just this like these like arenas full of people there to see the White Stripes? It's just unlike anything you would see in America,
Yeah.
as popular as they are here.
No, I believe that. I mean, Spinal Tap was huge in Japan. They were nothing in America.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, being we're talking about critics, and with social media the way that it is, what is your relationship with social media warriors?
What do you mean by social media warrior?
Critics, fucking people that, comment on your jokes or anything. Just because I
Oh,
see like you're so great at like somebody will say something to you and then you just come back with such a fucking great
yeah.
flip of the script.
I mean, if people don't like me, I don't have to ask why. I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But if they if they try to nitpick things, I get the same thing over and over again. So if someone tweets something at me, like a knock, and I have the perfect slam back, I'll do that. But I've stopped doing that because then people start to attack that person,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm like putting millions of people, going after one idiot who made some comment. When it comes to critics, my response to anyone writing about me, or like an actual critic writing about my comedy, positive or negative, is always thank you. I don't have to take the criticism. I don't have to listen to it, but I don't think enough people write about comedy or talk about comedy that anytime someone does, even if they don't like me, I'm happy that they've talked about me at all. And I feel like I can't be dismissed across the board. Even if you hate what I do, you have to admit that guy can write a joke.
Yes.
So I take the compliment and then I leave the rest of it behind. I never get bitter. I never get angry. And social media is, you can put as much of it into you as you want, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Twitter is truly nothing. If someone's like, oh, someone like my tweet only got this many likes, or someone got mad about this tweet, like, no, they didn't. A couple people, just because you got 4 comments and they were all negative, that's only 4 people who wrote a comment. And I would never write a negative tweet to anyone or leave a comment for anything, whether I loved it or hated it, that I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So it's like this underclass that I'm not aware of,
For
but
sure.
it doesn't bother me. If I can make a joke out of it, great, but I'm not searching through like, I hope people liked it.
What's the harshest thing a critic's ever said about you?
The only thing I remember, and I
Yeah.
remember cutting this guy off out of my life forever,
Yeah.
was he goes, Anthony Jeselnik had a great set, except for that one rape joke that was far too cheap and easy. And I was like, motherfucker, it took me 8 years to write a rape joke that I could get away with on stage. There was nothing cheap or easy about that. And that just seemed like a slam out of nowhere. Like you see younger critics or like inexperienced critics who can't just say they really love something. They feel like they have to say one negative thing in there,
Yeah.
and they do it in like a snarky way that I'm like, well, fuck you. I just disagreed with what he had said. And there's some critics who say things that I'm like, yeah, you got me there. Like if I could go back, I probably would have changed that. But I'll never forget reading that and being like, oh, fuck you, the comics comic. You're dead to me.
I'm not gonna. I fucking when you said the one person and somebody would critique, that's exactly who I thought it was, dude. Yeah, he shit all over my JFL New Faces set. He didn't shit all over it, but he was just like, "Oh, he's doing jokes about being a strip club DJ." All right, and I was like, "This is all I've got. Is
Yeah.
this show? Like, please just say great job. And why are you even critiquing it?
Mm-hmm.
It just broke my heart. So, dude, good for
Yeah,
you.
you're saying something just to say something. So yeah, that annoys me
Yeah.
for sure. When they try to be too clever, it's like if you were clever, you would be doing what I do.
Yeah, dude. All right. The record is dedicated to the death of the sweetheart, which saw Jack lamenting the passing of some old fashioned ideals. He said, "The sweetheart, the gentleman, it's the same thing. These ideas seem to be in decline, and I hate it." He further explained, "It's funny to shock people with normality. I mean, it's becoming an age of punk for the sake of punk, angst for the sake of angst. What are we rebelling against?" Thoughts on that?
He kind of sounds like a rich asshole. It sounds like he's already made it, and he's
Yeah.
just like he just kind of is looking back on this time of music and what kind of and like the character that musicians would play back in the day. That he misses that. Like he wishes he was Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
With June Carter going around touring. That I understand, kind of, wishing some things were like that. But you look at how far things have come. I don't want to go back in time at all for any
Yeah.
reason.
No, for sure. All right, last fact. 2003 was a year of accidents as Meg broke her wrist right before the album came out, and they had to postpone shows. And then in July, Jack got into a car accident and had his left index finger destroyed, and they had to cancel their European festival headline spots and tour. Of course, Jack posted the video of the surgery on his finger. One happy accident that came out of it was that Jack had time to produce Loretta Lynn's 42nd and most successful album, Van Leer Rose, which we've already done Loretta Lynn's greatest hits on this list, which I fell in love with her. But I listened to Van Leer Rose, and it is fucking perfect, man. It's such a
Amazing.
great record. So I wanted to ask you, what was your happiest accident?
Honestly, COVID. COVID is it made me. This pandemic has made me take time off, whereas I was incapable. I would finish the special, I would tape the special, and I would immediately start writing the next one,
Yeah.
and take no break. It just felt like if I took a break, I would lose something. And this has made me take. This is the longest I've taken off stand up since I started 20 years ago. So I think this will end up being good for me. Like I'm jotting down notes for stand up when I can get back on stage. But if I can't get up at the Comedy Store every night and bomb with these jokes and write new ones,
Yeah.
there's no reason. So I'm jotting down notes and waiting to be able to get back up again. But I think that this will have a great effect on my art because I refuse to do COVID jokes. I didn't do any Trump stuff in those 4 years. I'm like, I'm not going to have 4 years of my career be the Trump years.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay out of that, and I'm going to stay out of the COVID stuff. So even when we come back and people are joking about masks and joking about being 6 feet of distance, I'm avoiding all of that, and I want my stuff to be evergreen. So if you listen to my next special, 50 years from now, you'd have no idea it took place after the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I just made sure to take this break, get a dog, keep myself sane and happy, read a lot, don't drink too much. And when it's all said and done, I can step out of this sane and get back on stage and pick up where I left off.
Oh, I fucking love that, dude. I can't wait for you to get back on stage, man, because I love watching you. I love being friends with you, man. This was so much fun, dude. This was just so great. And
Thank you.
so anything you want to promote, please go ahead.
The Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project, JRVP, is my podcast with my best friend. It's just bonkers. We don't even try to be serious. It's just funny front to back. We're on all things comedy now. We just did episode 81 this week. We do it every week, every Tuesday night. JRVP, download it, subscribe. You'll love it. It's one of the goofiest, funniest podcasts out there.
Dude, everybody subscribe to it. Anthony, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Josh. Glad we could do this.
You
Good to
got
meet you, Jeremiah.